you are not too poor to buy Bitcoin. Most of the people who tell me that they're too poor to buy Bitcoin, either number one, weren't intending to buy Bitcoin whatsoever. It doesn't really matter what the price is. It doesn't matter how much money they have. They weren't going to buy it anyways. Or number two, they're spending their money recklessly on things that they really, really don't need. And in this video, I want to show you the impact of buying a small amount of Bitcoin over time, consistently, persistently, and buying it no matter what, because you want to build wealth for the future. And in this video, I want to go into this in depth. Let's get started. I made a post on YouTube just a few days ago. I said, you're not too poor to buy Bitcoin. You're just making excuses. You can buy with as little money as you want. You don't need to spend $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 on Bitcoin. You can buy small amounts if you want to. So when Bitcoin was at 21,000, I was personally delivering food for Uber Eats. I didn't have much money. I had started working on a different business. I had quit my job, so I wasn't in the best financial position. I didn't have much money, so I set up $2 recurring buys at one point. At another point, I had set up $1 recurring buys every single day. And the reason for this was because I wanted to buy Bitcoin no matter what. I didn't want to make the excuse that, oh, I don't have enough money to buy it. I didn't want to say that this is more of a priority than my future, my finances. At that point, again, like I said, I wasn't making much money. I was probably making something like $100 a day whenever I would work. Luckily, my wife was pulling some of the slack, but again, we weren't in the best financial position at that point. This was money that I was cutting down on, let's say, eating out or entertainment. There were times when we wouldn't even go out for a date for a month because we didn't have too much money. So at this time, like I said, I had set up $2 recurring buys. Those $2 purchases at the time were for about 10,000 Satoshis. Unfortunately, I can't find the receipts for that. I'm not sure what happened, but I have another set of recurring buys that I was doing as well. But at the time, it was for 10,000 Satoshis. Today, that's equivalent to about $8.60 in daily purchases. This is the cost of 10,000 Satoshis. So $2 then would cost me $8.60 today. So what that means is that the Bitcoin that I bought at that point has 4x'd, and it's worth 4 times what it was worth at that time. So when one Bitcoin is $250,000, those $2 purchases from 2022 would be the equivalent of $25 daily. So at that time, I was barely putting any money into it. And when Bitcoin does go up 2.5x, 3x from here, those buys will be worth $25 per day. And one of the people who I really admire in the Bitcoin education space, CJ Johnson, Chris Johnson, he's really smart. He's been preaching Bitcoin since 2019 or something like that. He says you have the opportunity to buy $10,000 of future purchasing power for only $1,000 today. So what that means is that your purchasing power is going to double, triple, quadruple, 10x, 20x, 50x. It's going to keep going. What you have to do is you have to make the sacrifice today to actually buy that $1,000 of Bitcoin today so that in the future you have $10,000. Every $2 that I purchased of Bitcoin in 2022 is going to be worth $100 or more. So at the time, I wasn't making much money. I had quit my job. I was trying to do real estate. I was doing Uber. That was my main source of income, and it wasn't really making much money, but I was working on social media on the side. Eventually, social media worked out, but again, at the time, I wasn't making that much money. So this $2 that I was buying every single day was something like 2% of my income per day, which is not that much. And I want to show you those buys because I got a lot of comments under this post saying that possibly I'm gaslighting my followers. I challenge you to explain in detail, where did you do this? Do not gaslight your followers. But there were some positive comments as well. So for example, this one here, this one hits, I started this year DCA a coffee a day as well and plan to maintain this for 10 years or more. It's crazy to see in 6 months the changes despite being down versus buying that coffee. The buys that you make are going to add up very, very quickly over time. But again, people don't believe it. But then we go back to another negative comment from the same person. This is a serious problem because you're not providing the truth to your followers. You claim one can buy $2, yet do not show concrete evidence for it. Highly misleading. So I responded, you can go on an exchange and buy $2 worth of Bitcoin right now. This person responded, they said, yeah, sorry, my mistake. My apologies. Sorry for the lack of research for commenting. I appreciate that. But again, a lot of people do say these things and it frustrates me, but I want to show you the proof. What you see here is a list of Bitcoin transactions from October 2nd to October 17th. These buys were for $1 each. You see that here. At the time, $1 bought 2,540 Satoshis. Keep in mind, I'm Canadian and the Canadian dollar doesn't have the same purchasing power as the US dollar. So at this time, $1 US might have bought something like 3,500 Satoshis. But like I said, $1 bought 2,540 Satoshis, keeps going, keeps going. I was just buying $1 a day. Whenever I could, I would cut a meal, for example. Let's say if I wanted to go eat out, I would cut that meal and I would eat at home. I'd save $7, $8, and I'd have the Bitcoin that I had to save for a week. Or let's say that I wanted to buy a drink from somewhere. Instead of buying that drink, I'd carry my water bottle with me everywhere, literally everywhere. Actually, my family believes that I'm a little crazy because I have this water bottle with me everywhere. They say that this is my emotional support water bottle. And it's pretty funny because I do think that it supports me emotionally. It helps me to save money. It helps me to be able to save so that I can actually buy Bitcoin, let's say $1 a day. Again, it doesn't seem like much, but it adds up very, very quickly. This is probably something like 40 to 50,000 Satoshis in a very short period of time. At the time, it cost me $1 to buy 2,540 Satoshis. Today, those same 2,540 Satoshis probably cost me something like $3 to $4. So don't hold yourself back from buying Bitcoin just because you think it's too expensive right now. It really isn't. It's going to keep going up. It will go up forever. The US dollar, Canadian dollar, all these fiat currencies, yen, won, pound, all these currencies, they're literally worthless. They can be printed out of nothing. If you get rid of them and you buy Bitcoin, you're going to be much better off compared to your financial situation today. And that's because Bitcoin's price is going to go up forever. You're going to be able to exchange your Bitcoin for more goods and services. You're going to be able to exchange it for more dollars, more yen, more pounds, more won, whatever currency you use in your country. You'll be able to get more of whatever you want with your Bitcoin over time. So let's quickly do the calculation here. I think this is going to change your life if you really pay attention to what I'm saying here. If Bitcoin has a compound annual growth rate of 30% per year, which I think is reasonable, I don't know if that'll happen. I'm just thinking it'll be reasonable based on the kinds of returns that it had in the past and because of the fact that it has a finite supply, meaning that I think that the price will have to go up over time. People are accumulating as much as they can and they're not selling again. They're going to hold for 5, 10, 15 years. And in the time that they're holding, that supply won't be replaced in the market because so little is being created. Something like 95% has already been mined. So let's say you buy $1 of Bitcoin per day, $1 daily. If you want to download this and do this for yourself, you can go ahead and do that. If you hit the arrow at the top here, you hit file and you hit download, you'll be able to save the file and you'll be able to run these numbers for yourself. So again, $1 a day, 365 days, 30% growth per year. You see here. In the first year, you'll accumulate 418,000 Satoshis or 0.00418,909 Bitcoin. That's worth $474.50. In the second year, you'll accumulate 322,237 Satoshis. In total, at that point, your stack would be worth $1,091.35. You'd have 741,146 Satoshis to begin year 3. If you keep doing this, at one point you'll reach 1 million Satoshis, 2029, 1.179 million Satoshis worth $3,000. Again, this doesn't seem significant, but over time it will add up. The more energy, time, and effort you put into this, the deeper you understand Bitcoin, the more money you'll want to put into it as well. Over time, even if you just keep accumulating $1 a day, you'll see here, 2050, your stack will be worth $1.1 million. In 2060, it'll be worth $15.3 million. That's in 35 years. 35 years, $15.3 million. Again, it's not really relevant how much money you have in terms of dollars because, like I said, dollars are worthless. What you want to pay attention to is your annual expenses versus your stack. So if today you're spending $9,000 a month, I know that's a ridiculous number. That's a lot. A lot of people aren't spending that much, but I just wanted to give you that number because it gives you a better picture of what things will look like in the future if you stack Bitcoin. So if you buy $1 of Bitcoin a day and you're spending $9,000 a month, today your expenses are a little over $100,000. In 2060, your expenses will be $595,000. That's if your expenses grow at 5% per year. So what that means is your stack, your $1 a day of buying Bitcoin will cover you for 26 years of your expenses. 26 years. You can see that this is crazy. 26 years of your expenses are covered because of $1 of Bitcoin per day. If you want to buy a house, let's say today that house is worth 250K, grows at 5% per year. In 2060, your stack, so again, $1 a day will buy you 11 houses. Again, there's a lot of assumptions here. Bitcoin keeps growing at 30% per year. I personally think it'll grow faster. I don't know what'll actually happen. So don't use this advice just to make all your decisions. Think about it for yourself. Try to make the decision for yourself. Think about if you think Bitcoin can grow at 30% per year. Let's go with a little bit more conservative of a number. So instead of 30%, we'll go with 20%. Just because I know that a lot of comments will say, oh, Bitcoin won't grow at 30% per year. It won't grow at 30% per year. But if it grows at 20% per year, 2060, you have $1 million, $1.2 million. Your expenses, again, would be $595,000. You'd be covered for 2 years of expenses at $595,000 per year. You'd be covered for 2 years with your $1 of Bitcoin purchases per day. So in 35 years, you would have spent $12,000, but that $12,000 will be worth $1.2 million. $1.2 million. Your investment would be 1% of your portfolio. So every dollar that you put in would be worth $100. So this is the way to think. Every dollar that you put in at some point is worth $10. Every dollar you put in is worth $20, $50. Every $1,000 that you put in is worth $10,000 or $20,000 or $50,000 at some point. You can see here in this situation, $12,000 were put in and it's worth $1.2 million. And I think 20%, like I said, 20% is very reasonable. People will say that, oh, I don't want to retire in 2060. So invest more, buy more, put as much money into this as you can up front, because at some point it'll be worth a lot more than what it's worth today. Let's say you were able to do $5 a day. At some point, I changed my buys from $1 a day, $2 a day to $5 to $10 a day because I became more confident in Bitcoin and because I started making more money. So let's say if you did $5 per day at a 20% growth rate, you can see here, 2035, you'll have $56,000. Most people don't even have $400 in their savings account. You'd have $56,000 with $5 a day. In 2040, you'd have $157,000. 2045, you'd have $408,000. This would be equivalent to 0.12 Bitcoin or 12.2 million Satoshis. In 2050, you'd have $1 million, or you'd be able to buy a house in cash by buying $5 worth of Bitcoin a day. You can see here, your fiat monthly expenses would be $30,000. Your annual expenses would be $365,000. You'd be covered for almost 3 years of your expenses because of stacking $5 of Bitcoin a day. But over time, that grows quickly. That actually accelerates. You go from 2.8 years of your expenses to 5 years of your expenses in only 5 more years. And then after that, you go from 5 years. In another 5 years, you cover another 5 more years of your expenses. So over time, as this compounds, it grows and it keeps accumulating. So instead of you having to spend all of your time worrying about your expenses and worrying about how you're going to make ends meet, your Bitcoin will take care of that for you. All you have to do is stack Bitcoin. You have to just buy as much Bitcoin as you can. And at some point, if you just forget about it, let's say you buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoin today, you get something like 0.12 Bitcoin today, $10,000. I'll get rid of the $5 daily investment. Again, this applies to everybody. If you have a small amount of money today, you can do that. $10,000 worth of Bitcoin will buy you 12 million Satoshis. And today it won't be worth a lot. It'll cover you for 10% of your annual expenses. But at some point, it'll cover 2 times your annual expenses. At some point, it'll cover 10 times your annual expenses. Like I said, 2060, 10.35 times your annual expenses. By 2065, it'll cover 20 times your annual expenses. So stop thinking about how Bitcoin is too expensive. Small buys are going to add up. $1 a day, $5 a day, $2 a day, whatever you can buy, keep buying it. At some point, that $1 will be worth $10, then it'll be worth $20, $50, $100. That $2 daily purchase will be worth $50 at some point in the future. That $5 daily purchase will be worth $100 a day at some point in the future. If you stack Bitcoin, if you put your energy into the best asset in the world, at some point, that Bitcoin is going to take care of you. It's going to pay for your expenses, and you're not going to have to worry about money the same way that you are today. If you want to learn more about money, Bitcoin, personal finance, if you want to retire early, if you want to start buying Bitcoin ASAP, I highly recommend that you join my private community where I talk about Bitcoin, personal finance, how to buy Bitcoin, how to store your Bitcoin. We go in depth into all these topics. We also do weekly live sessions. You can see that here. We have 70 weekly live sessions already. 72, we also did one yesterday, so I need to upload that one. But we already did a ton of weekly live sessions. All of this content is not available on YouTube. I think it's more relaxed than YouTube. The way that comments are on YouTube, it kind of stresses you out, stresses me out a little bit. But people aren't like that on this. People are very calm. People are relaxed. They've put in the time to understand what Bitcoin is. Highly recommend that you try it out. You can try it out for free if you'd like to. Other than that, if you want to book a one-on-one session with me, you can. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment for both the community and the one-on-one sessions if you'd like to check it out. If you found value in this video and you want to learn more from me, you can watch this one here where I talk about whether it's worth it to be all in on Bitcoin.